Where to start with that one? God. Yeah, for those listening on audio, I think what you're doing there, JJ, with the silent the cross is very well. Well, I don't even know what to say. I'm lost for words at the minute. After that, it was a pretty hectic end to the game, but we've come out of the City grounds with a 2-1 win, identical scoreline to what we got at the start of the season at home. And I've got to say, absolutely delighted with that win. Really, really, really tough watch in the first half. Just struggling to get the ball anywhere near the net, let alone in it. But scored 2 great goals in the second half. Big 3 points away from home at a ground we've done very poorly at in times gone by, and back-to-back wins. How you feeling about it, JJ?
Oh, you know what? I get so emotional through the game as per, mate, and people go on about my grey streak on this side here. I think it's going to be the whole side. I'm going to get two-tone hair, I think, after watching that. And then we've got. I don't want to jump the gun, but we've got Liverpool ahead on Sunday, so that's going to be even more fun, isn't it, James? But no, I said to you, didn't I, earlier when we were messaging each other about the show, and I said I think we'll scrape this one, and then we'll get a draw at the weekend. And yeah, I think we did scrape it. If you look at it at the end, we made that a lot harder than it needed to be, but we scraped that. I mean, I was worried towards the end there, James, that we weren't going to do a podcast tonight. I thought the ref had left his whistle behind or something in the room. I was like, how have you got 7.5 minutes out of that? And then the VAR review as well at the end.
Oh yeah, what was that?
What are you looking for?
Yeah.
They need the Hubble to find something there, don't they? I'm like, what are you looking
Any
for?
excuse, mate. Any excuse.
Exactly. I was like, normally if it's a team playing in red and white, you don't look at anything. But clearly, Nottingham Forest, they like that's the red and white they enjoy, not the London red and white, I think. But my word, yeah, no, I'm very happy with that win. And again, for our front line, which I think we're going to talk about a lot, mate. They're still pulling. They have terrible games, but they're still pulling in the numbers, mate. They're still pulling numbers out. So good on them. Thank God for that.
Funnily enough, as you mentioned that, I mean, yeah, they are getting the numbers at the minute, but funnily enough, away from home, there's only been 1 goal from an Arsenal centre forward this season, and we're going to get onto the positives tonight,
Jeez,
but that's not good enough, is it?
but that's a stat and a half. Even I didn't have that one in my locker, so well played.
Well, you can thank friend of the show Giles for that.
Okay,
And if he's wrong, I'm taking that from his Twitter account. So Giles, if you're listening, that's on you, mate. So if I've got that wrong, it's him to blame, everyone, not me.
he
But
might,
yeah,
he
I mean,
might get that account banned in a few days anyway. He seems to have a new one every week, or has he had
oh
this
yeah,
one for a while now?
well, he's got to stop posting TNT highlights, doesn't he? Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, that was quite damning when I read that on Giles's Twitter to see that we've only had 1 goal away from home from an Arsenal centre forward. Obviously, it's 2 now with Gabby Jesus getting another one, but it's just a bit worrying. You don't have a presence up front, really, do we? And I actually think we're going to talk about all the intricacies of today's game, but I actually think, looking at the first half, this would have been a game for Kai Havertz playing in that forward role. I definitely wouldn't have been opposed to that. But, I mean, we're going to go on to talk about the performance of Gabby Jesus ending the game with a goal and an assist. I have to say, I was seething watching him before that. Just everything he does is so good until
James,
the final bit.
if my WhatsApps got leaked, I would be getting battered right now, left, right, and centre by people.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, I think
I
I
was,
tweeted.
I was going, get him off. What?
No,
As soon as that one that he smashed against the bar, I was like, I'm done. Get
yeah,
him
it's
off.
funny you say that. When he did that, I tweeted literally about a minute or two before he scored, this man just simply doesn't score goals. And yeah, I mean, maybe that was a sign of good fortune because he went on to score that goal afterwards. It seems he only scores brilliant goals. I remember one he got against Sevilla or PSV in the Champions League as well, which was absolutely sublime. Going all the way back to the goal he scored when we beat Leicester 4-2 last season. Out of this world. He just can't do a simple tapping. When he's got all the time in the world, all the goal to aim at, that's when he struggles. But when he's got, to pull a rabbit out of a hat, he does it every single time. But look, really pleased for him tonight because he needed that goal. He needed that assist. He needs to be getting numbers. If he can have a big second half of the season, that's great. Same for Bukayo Saka. He needed a goal tonight. He's not scored for a little while. I mean, obviously scored against Fulham, but not the most convincing of finishes this. Definitely a convincing goal. Could say the same for Martinelli last week, getting the 2 goals against Crystal Palace. I don't want to say, we're back on track, JJ, but it's certainly feeling a lot better, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, at the moment, you just want to stay in the race for as long as we can, James. And to do that, you need to not drop any more points needlessly. And okay, people were saying that we didn't play extremely well versus Palace, and we got two set piece goals, and then obviously breakaways and everything else like that. But to beat a team 5-0, regardless of how you do it, I won't be moaning at that. And then today, like I said, made it harder work than it needed to be at the end, but we got it done, James, and that's all that matters. So, if I said to you after Fulham that we're going to take 7 points out of the next three, which I believe that we're going to do, you'd be happy with that, wouldn't you? So
I would, but I mean, look, we'll talk about Liverpool towards the end, but I can't help but feel like we've got to beat them now, don't we? 2 wins on the spin. If we want to be serious about winning the league, I think you've got to beat Liverpool at home. You
I
have
just,
to,
I,
don't you?
I just want everybody to beat him for the rest of the season, mate, to stop this loving. So yeah,
Well, fingers crossed that starts tomorrow. Need
exactly.
Chelsea to do us a favour,
Yeah.
which I never thought I'd hear myself saying, but come on, you Blues. Oh, got to wash my mouth out after that. Let's go right back to the start tonight, mate. Obviously, really wanted to build on that win against Crystal Palace. I wasn't expecting to see too much difference in terms of the lineup, but I was really caught off guard when we saw our friend Mo Arsenal tweet the number 10, which gave us a little bit of an indication that Emil Smith Rowe is going to be starting this game. And lo and behold, when the 11 came out, there he was, front and centre of the starting 11 graphic. So pleased for him because I didn't expect him to be starting games. Me and Merv did the preview for this match, and we were talking about where is he going to get his minutes. I didn't expect him to be starting games. I thought he would be, getting minutes off the bench, and we were debating whether or not he's going to be getting minutes in games where we need to get a goal, or whether it's just going to be minutes off the bench when the game's already won, like it was against Crystal Palace. But to see him thrown in a tough away game against Nottingham Forest, the game that ended our title challenge last season, put the nail in the coffin. I think it's a big statement from Arteta to start Smith Rowe. And, he wasn't amazing tonight, but he was good. I certainly don't think he was any worse than, say, Kai Havertz was against Crystal Palace.
No, he wasn't. And do you know what? It seemed like that they just, especially at the start, I think there was a time where it was something like we had was it 79% possession or something. It seems as though it's a bit, it's a bit more flowing, it's a bit quicker because he moves into those positions a lot quicker than Havertz does. Havertz will want to receive it back to goal, whereas Smith Rowe's frontwards. And yeah, I was really impressed. The thing is I was worrying because just before he come off, you could see he was digging his foot into the ground a lot, as if to be like, "Oh no!" And his face was like, "I've done something. I've hurt myself. I've hurt myself." And when he was being when he actually did come off, he looked relieved, as if to be like, "Good," because I don't think I could have ran any more minutes here. So hopefully he hasn't reoccurred anything or hurt himself with a new injury, because we all know what this player can do, James. There's others in this squad that are obviously Colney players that we've had the debates about time and time again, and I've told you that for me they have no further ceiling. What you've got now is the best they're going to be, and for me it's not good enough for this club. But for me, with Smith Rowe, there's still that next. He's still got another level that I believe he can go in, and it's definitely in this position that he's played in tonight as well. It's not as a left, left where Martinelli is or right where Saka is. It's in this central midfield, left 8 position. And I want to see him play there more. I mean, if he's fit, as much as I thought Havertz did a good job in that FA Cup game against Liverpool, and in the league game at Anfield, at the start, when we were just pumping the ball long and they were dragging themselves out to deal with him, and he was winning it and then playing it on, I thought that was quite a good option to have. So, as much as I would like to see him play against Liverpool, if he's fit, I do think maybe he'll go back to. I think he'll go back to Havertz and maybe bring Smith Rowe on.
Yeah, I think he'll be inclined to do that. As I say, we'll do a little preview for Liverpool at the end, but he was just like someone's put in the comments. He was a breath of fresh air from Graham Watkins, and yeah, completely agree with you, Graham. He certainly was, because different profile to Havertz, different player. I think, a bit more elegant on the ball. With all due respect to Havertz, he just glides with it a bit more, whereas Havertz can have a tendency to look a little bit clunky, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but with ESR, he's just so easy on the eye, so good to watch. And I think the frustrating thing for me tonight about his performance, no fault of his own, was that he was making so many runs, so much movement, but just wasn't seeing the ball enough. Players weren't finding him. I think there were a couple of moments where Zinchenko just threaded the ball through to him. And there was one particular pass from Zinchenko in that first half, which probably resulted in our best opening of the game, where Smith Rowe put the ball through to Jesus. And it was a good clearance from the Forest defender. But he needs to be found more. And I think the more he's in this team, the more the players around him will get to understand his runs. But that's only going to come with consistent performances. And I think the reason why Arteta looked at this game as one where he could throw him in was because we were going to have so much of the ball. And again, it's why Zinchenko wasn't really a player we had to worry about too much time, because we had so much of the ball. We had so much dominance. And on that note, mate, I wasn't expecting it to be this comfortable. I mean, obviously, the last 10, 15 minutes, it wasn't comfortable. We concede the goal and it gets a little bit hairy. But up until that point, it was just attack versus defense, wasn't it?
Yeah, they other than a few sort of breakaways, they just didn't want to play. They didn't want to play out. I think they go for that whole, and I've seen a lot of teams do it against Arsenal, and this has been set in from obviously the late Wenger era, where it's like, right, give them as much of the ball as we can, because they're just going to pass themselves to death, and then we will literally will spring them on the counter and score. And but they weren't even trying to, they weren't trying to spring us on the counter. I mean, the only things that really concerned me was when they did get it to Gibbs White, because I think Gibbs White's a fantastic player, James. I mean, if they get the points deduction and they go down, he's someone I'd seriously consider looking at buying if he's available. I like Gibbs White a lot, but yeah, they just was so passive, and I mean, even their fans. I, I mean, Amanda spoke about it before about how their atmosphere got to us previously, but tonight I could barely hear them over ours. I mean, I've always said Arsenal's got a fantastic away core anyway, but couldn't hear them at all.
Do you think that's
Even when
because
it was 0-0, I
the
just
last season, mate, I mean, the atmosphere was rocking at their place,
mm,
and we all know why that was, because they needed to win that game to survive relegation.
yeah.
At this point in the season, still lots of football to be played. Forest are definitely not comfortable by any stretch of the imagination. They still need to win games, and that's why they sacked Steve Cooper, because they need to ensure safety in the Premier League. But given that they had those recent wins against United at home, Newcastle away, two outstanding results for them, by the way, do you think there's a sense of security almost that they're going to be okay, and maybe their fans just don't have that reason to rally at the minute because there's not that much on the line in a game like this? Or does that sound absolutely absurd?
No, I don't think it's absurd, but I just normally, you know how sometimes these teams try and, I wouldn't say create rivalries, but they try and make it a bigger thing than it. I mean, the best example for me is Aston Villa at the moment. Ever since they went for that Smith Rowe transfer a couple of seasons before, what was it, before they got Buendia, they've tried to make something between us and them.
What's
And
happened to Buendia, by the way?
he got
Have
a
they still
really
got him?
he got a really bad ACL, didn't he? Start of the season, like he got like a 8 or 9 month
Oh God.
really bad injury. Like right, I think it might have been in pre-season in America. You know when everyone was doing their
Yeah,
ACLs in
yeah, yeah,
America.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he was one of the ones that got done then. But yeah, it's just like I thought to myself, well, they've got this whole Arsenal hatred thing that they're trying to create. So I thought they'd be on it tonight. I thought that they'd get right underneath it. Under the lights, it's on the telly, and no, it just was flat, completely flat. But I don't care. But I just thought, yeah, just weird.
Interesting comment here from Rancid Pumpkin. Don't want to be the negative one, but I think we were poor. We only won thanks to Agent Turner. What do you make of that?
I don't think we were great by any means, but yeah, we got the job done. I don't want to say it was Agent Turner. I think we done enough there with our play at the end to justify the 2 goals. Like I said, there was only one team really trying to win it. It definitely weren't. It definitely weren't Nottingham Forest.
Do you think there's something to be said for it always is going to be difficult when you're playing against a side that just doesn't want to come out of their own half? I mean, I can't think of anything Forest did going forward in that first half.
Yeah,
They were just camped in their own side of the pitch, and it was just a case of, right, you come onto us, you break us down. And in the Premier League, against any level of opposition, unless you're playing a really bad side, like a really, really bad side, it's always going to be tough to break them down. I see a lot of people on Twitter saying, need to move the ball quicker, need to move, be faster, quicker on a play. Completely agree, but you can't always do that unless you're getting the opposition to be drawn out. And if you're playing it around the back, playing it, back to David Raya, if someone like Woods, hasn't got any interest in pressing because he's focused on the defensive side, you're not going to get those gaps. You're not going to find that space. So, although I do agree it's boring, but as much as Arsenal played a part in that, Nottingham Forest played an enormous part in that, didn't they?
yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think if you look at it, the way that we're approaching it as well is, especially first half, it was coming out to Zinchenko, who James, again, I'm probably waiting to get flamed here. I thought he was our best player.
It was excellent.
I thought he was man of the match for me, Zinchenko. I know obviously Jesus got the assist and got his goal, but I thought Zinchenko was fantastic tonight. And it kept coming back out to him, and we were sort of pamming these crosses into the box to a 5'9" striker against everybody else who seems to be massive for Nottingham Forest. So it was only ever going to go one way. But Odegaard tonight for me, James, another one. Poor.
Yeah, it's funny. I wanted to talk about Odegaard because I think
really
he wasn't great against Palace, was he? But he just seems to be going for a very, very quiet patch at the moment.
He just seems to be doing everything safe, James. And all of the, three reign, the goal scoring, the flair that he had last season, I don't know if it's been beaten out of him through coaching, or if there's just something with him at the moment that he just doesn't believe in himself compared to how he believed in himself before. But yeah, tonight I thought he was lucky to stay on for as long as he did.
Well, he's not coming off, is he? He never comes off.
He's one of the most sub captains, if not the most sub captain in the league, James.
Is he? Honestly, I've never even realised that.
Yeah,
it never feels like he comes off.
But there were times where, and I've seen it the last couple of games, I look at players and they make these great runs and they're in these good positions, yet he will just always go to Saka. And
it's
funny.
Saka
will only ever go back to him.
Since you mentioned that, I remember when we did a podcast a couple of weeks ago and you pointed that out, and I've never really thought about that before, but he always plays that inside pass to Saka. Always.
Yeah.
And since you mentioned it, I can't stop looking at it.
It's so obvious to read. And they do all this analysis, if anything, it's paralysis by analysis at Arsenal these days. And I can't see how Mikel's not going to him. If you look at Martin, there was one in the first half where I think White had done the overlap. It had cut in. Saka tried to get through, and they brought it back out. And it was Odegaard there. And part of me's like, right, face up, do your shot, because we know what Turner's like in goal. He'll either palm it out, we get a corner, or he might palm it out into somebody, or you might score. We saw the Saka goal at the beginning of the season that he curled in from range. But Martinelli is literally just to the left of him in such good space on his own. And he just went back out to Saka again, even though Saka's got like 3 or 4 men in front of him.
Yeah,
and Martinelli had his hands in the air as if to be like, what possessed you to think he could get through 4 men? I've got none here whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm noticing with him is it's not necessarily the safe pass. It seems to be the pass that is closest to him. If you look at whether it be Saka, Jesus, whoever it may be on that right-hand side with him, he's always looking to pass it between 2 defenders, just like a 2-yard pass. And when it comes off, it looks brilliant. Sometimes he does it through to Ben White and it comes off, it looks great. But we are talking eye of the needle stuff. And he does it on a regular basis. And it's not always going to come off because it's such a technical, difficult thing to do. And this is what I actually liked about Smith Rowe tonight that was completely contrasting to Martin Odegaard's performance, is that he's not just looking on his side of the pitch. He's trying to just see every option around him. He's scanning the pitch. He's not, worried about playing a pass completely, to the other side, playing a quick diagonal rather than just looking for a guy, whether it be Zinchenko or Martinelli. He's looking at all available options. But I feel like Erdegaard's just a little bit limited in his thinking at the minute. And what really summed up his performance for me tonight was just that pot shot he had at the end, which just went absolutely wayward, went flying. But he seems to be getting in the positions that he was getting in last season, but he's just not shooting. But you could say that about a lot of players at the minute, can't you?
Yeah, yeah. There's quite a few of them that aren't being as ruthless as they were last season. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's we're living up to that classic IT crowd statement. You know, problem with Arsenal is they always try to walk it in.
Well, we did first half. We did first half.
We certainly did. It's kind of frustrating to know that we're playing that way rather than just having a shot at times. Look, I love the way it looks when it comes off. When you pass the ball into the back of the net, you have a stunning sweeping move. It looks fantastic. But when you just have a shot, sometimes you never know what can happen off the back of that. The keeper could parry it into danger. You could get a rebound. Anything could happen. It could result in an own goal. And whilst we're trying to play this way, where we're just trying to walk it into the net, I do worry that it can come back to bite us on the backside at some point.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like what you just said a minute ago. The game that we've got at the weekend, they're not going to have Chris Wood that's going to be trying to defend it. You know, they will Nunez, Jota, Gakpo, whatever one it will be on Raya, Saliba, whoever it is that's going to try and bring it out. They're going to be swarming them. So they better wake up quick to it, James, and realise that they ain't going to get the time and the luxury that they had tonight against Liverpool.
No, funnily enough, though, I think Liverpool could be a good game for us because we need to play against a higher line. We
Yes.
just need to have an
Yep.
opportunity to play on the counter.
True,
Because
true.
look at the second goal we scored. Look at the 2 goals we scored against Palace. When we don't have time to think about it, we create stuff so instinctively. We just quick couple of passes, balls in the back of the net. When we're going up against the opposition, when they've put so many men forward, that's when we're at our most dangerous. It's when we're trying to break teams down that have got zero interest in attacking. And I'm not trying to dig out Forest for doing that. I don't blame them in the slightest for playing that way because just look at how quickly we can pounce on opposition when we do get the chance. But I do think coming up against Liverpool, where there should be a bit more space. I mean, look, that could go one of 2 ways. It could result in them getting a couple of quick goals, could result in us hitting them on the counter and getting a quick goal. But it will be a much differing game compared to this one. But we're not getting on to Liverpool just yet. First half, 0-0. It was frustrating. Positive signs. I think we'd had something like 1 shot on target. We might not have even had 1. But it was,
Yeah, it was the Jesus header at the end when Turner tipped it over, weren't it? It was like right just before the whistle. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it just leads
And I
back
mean,
into
it was going over anyway, but he still tipped it.
Oh, yeah, but it's just, we're still just not having enough shots on target, are we? We're just not testing the opposition enough. I mean, possession is great, pretty football is great, but when you're not doing anything with the ball, it doesn't matter, does it?
No, exactly.
So going into the second half, a lot of pressure on us. I think had we not scored a couple of goals, you'd probably have had people up in arms after the game saying, that's the league gone. Well within their rights to. I think you've got to win this game if you've got aspirations to win the league. And given we were so dominant, to have not won this game would have been absolutely criminal. But thankfully, we did get that goal through Gabby Jesus to make it 1-0. Shortly before that, though, brilliant move. And although we were criticising Erdegaard not too long ago, he did play a big part in this with a lovely little back heel. I can't quite remember who it was that played it through to Jesus. Was it Saka?
Yeah.
Yeah, Saka. And all the space and time in the world hits the woodwork. At that point, I think, like you, I was pretty ready for him to come off at that point. But then he goes and scores that
James,
goal.
all he has to do is place that. I'm like, why have you gone for
Why has he gone high?
Yeah, like why have you like the one against Spurs earlier in the season when Maddison and he took it. I'm like, why have you? I'm like, stop thrashing at things.
Why'd you have to remind me of that Spurs one?
Yeah,
I didn't need to be taken back in time to that.
He does it so often. I'm like, you don't have to
To lever it.
Yeah, I'm like, you can. I've seen him place finishes. I know he's got. We saw him place the one he did score, like you said. That's a harder thing to do than the one that he missed.
But
Yeah.
that goal he did score,
Oh yeah, it was class. Yeah, absolute
class,
class.
but awful from Turner, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. But
Yeah.
at the same point, he just baffles me. He baffles me that he can do the difficult, but the simple, just not got it in him.
No, I still think, even though he got the goal and assist tonight, I would have been interested to see how the game would have gone had we had Havertz lining up top, because I feel like we needed a focal point this evening. We were putting so many crosses into the box, and there's just no worthwhile reason to put the ball in the air when we've
No,
got Gabriel Jesus on the
yeah,
pitch.
if if
Absolutely none. You're better
if
off putting it across the floor.
if you're crossing to a 5'9" forward and a what 5'7" Saka, what's the point?
I'm going to take you back in time here, JJ. Do you remember about five, six, way more than five, but 6, 7, maybe 8 years ago, when we had our striking options were Olivier Giroud, Danny Welbeck, Alexis Sanchez, and Theo Walcott. And there was a period where we would play either Theo or Alexis up top,
Yeah,
and we would always cross the ball in,
yeah,
always. And you'd
yeah.
have either Giroud or Welbeck on the bench, and you're like, why are we doing this when we've got the focal points on the bench? That's what it feels like right now when we've got Havertz on the bench and we're crossing it into Gabriel Jesus, who's
And
never going to win those headers.
there was later times as well with weren't it? I think it was like early Arteta with Tierney, and Tierney would do about 15 crosses a game. I think Aubameyang only ever scored one header for us, didn't he?
Yeah, which
But
is
he would,
mad for a tall guy.
yeah, he would just pump like 15 crosses a game, and I'd just be like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?
Desperation, I think sometimes, just because we
Yeah,
run out of ideas, we get to
yeah,
the byline, and then it's just like, well, what do we do now?
mm.
You got two Nottingham Forest players closing you down. Got to do something with it. I'll put it in the box. It'll go straight to Turner. Or it'll get headed away easily.
Because
Yeah.
the commentary were making out like that Montiel was Maldini with the amount of headers. They were like, "Oh, he's
Oh no,
headed another one. Oh, he's." I'm like, "Well, it's not
it's
hard."
routine.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not hard for him. Really, look at who he's up against in the air. I'm like, he's not. It's not really a challenge, is it?
And that brings us on to a question here from Ed Walters. Thank you for your comment, mate. Do you think Arsenal still need a number 9?
We need two. We need two number nines.
Very big statement, mate. So do you not think Kai Havertz is a viable option to play in games like this?
I think he is, but he's not going to do it
So do you think
unless other people are hurt. He's not going to do it. For me, I'm with you, James. I think he's as if you want someone that's completely different to Jesus, then yeah, you play Havertz. But if Jesus is injured and you want to have a player that replicates somewhat of what Jesus can do for us, out of all the other nines that we've got at the squad, Trossard's still better than Nketiah at doing it, and Havertz at doing it. If you want somewhat like for like, Trossard is just as good at doing what Jesus does for us.
and on the topic of Trossard, Matthew Burnett, yeah, we will get to your comment, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, oh, what cameo?
Yeah, in that, I mean, he did everything right when he came on. I mean, there was one moment where he almost gave the ball away, and I think he did give it away, but thankfully it didn't lead to anything. But we're not going to look at the negatives because his ball retention when he came on, just skipping past players, holding on to it, that shot he had as well. My God, if that went in, that would have been a brilliant
Oh,
goal.
yeah.
But I just liked when he got the ball, when he beat about 3 or 4 players, you're kind of thinking, okay, pass it forwards. But then he would just pass it back, and you're like, okay, maybe that's probably the right thing to do. I mean, he just managed the game brilliantly when he came on. I really hope that Trossard, like Martinelli, is getting back to his best because he's such a useful player.
We need him to. You know, we're still talking about. We've just spoken there about wanting nines. We're not going to get one now. It's too late. Unless there's an absolute miracle tomorrow, which I don't think there's going to be. I mean, we can't even give Cedric away, James. So I doubt that we're going to be able to sign a nine. Um, I think you need to get the best that you can get out of what you have. And yeah, we need Trossard back to the level that he was when we signed him last Jan. If we can get another 12 or so goals or an assist contributions again out of Trossard like we did last January, then yeah, it will be a huge lift for us.
Interesting comment here from Ross Morgan on Trossard. Trossard has become a typecast as an impact sub. I'm going to disagree with you because he started against Palace and played pretty well in that game. I think we're in quite a fortunate position where you can start either Martinelli or Trossard, and whoever comes on is such a contrasting player that it just can cause havoc for the opposition. I don't think it's been as effective for us in recent weeks because both Martinelli and Trossard have been hideously out of form. But if they're fit, firing, scoring goals, providing assists, that's a nightmare for opposition. It just so happens that in recent weeks and months, it's not quite worked out that way because they've not been at their best. And we've got another comment here from Robert Stevens. Our corners. Yep, we have to be so much better against Liverpool. Funnily enough, we've scored the most goals from set pieces this season. Forest have conceded the most goals from set pieces this season. We had God knows how many corners. Did absolutely nothing with them, mate. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no, they all just kept going into Turner's hands. And then we tried one, I think it was first half, where we went ultra long with it or deep with it, whatever way you want to call it, and that just was pointless as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't one of Jova's best days.
no, it's frustrating after what was such a good set piece performance against Crystal Palace to not really follow up with any real threat in the penalty area in this game. But look, we look a bit more solid defensively from set pieces at the minute. I think against Fulham and West Ham, that was a real worry. But against Palace and Forest, yeah, although we haven't really conceded a lot of set pieces on the ones we have had to deal with, we've looked fairly assured. So hopefully that's going to be much improved from a defensive point of view. But then we got the second goal, courtesy of Bukayo Saka. Again, brilliant counter-attacking move. Great goal, clinical from Bukayo Saka on his weaker foot, which is actually quite a strong foot these days, to make it 2-0. And don't want to say the game was won at that point, but certainly I'm sure you shared with me a very big sigh of relief.
Oh yeah, and it was a lovely move again, and like you said, another brilliant finish, and I think that's him in double figures for the league now, isn't it? So that's massive to finally get.
Yeah, and I still don't feel like he's playing that great, which
No,
is a funny
I
thing
mean
to say.
the comment that's just come in from JH, I agree with him.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense to me. Yeah,
Yeah, for those listening,
I didn't.
Jesus and Saka were poor
Yeah,
other than the goals.
yeah. Sorry, I keep forgetting. Yeah, it's on audio as well. Yeah.
Come on, mate. I mean, everyone wants to see our faces, but
Oh well,
come on.
that's what I think. But there we go. But yeah, no, I totally agree with him. Like I said, didn't think they had good games, but this is what you want. For me, if they're not playing well, but they're still getting their numbers in, I'll take it every day of the week.
Yeah, but I do want to play well. That's the thing. I mean, I because I still think there's more. There's more to come. I mean, if we can get them to the level they were last season, where Saka was just undroppable. I mean, every single game he was just really, really good. This season it's kind of been the opposite. You can't drop him because he contributes with something at some point, but the performance all round isn't that amazing. I mean, I'd say he delivered a 6.5, 7 out of 10 today, but he gets a goal, so it automatically makes it basically an 8 out of 10 just because he's put the ball in the back of the net. Gabriel Jesus misses a gilt-edged chance, scores a brilliant goal. Really, really good assist for Saka's goal as well. Brilliant eye-the-needle pass, and just bumps up his performance massively. So yeah, if we can do that and see the performances improve, we're going to be in a pretty sweet spot. But wasn't smooth sailing towards the end of the game. They brought on Iwanee, and I have to say, I've probably said his name wrong there, but I think he's a fantastic striker. He scored a couple of goals against us in the past couple of games we've played against Forest. And I know people are talking about Tony, Solanke. If we're looking to buy someone from within the Premier League at kind of I don't want to say a cut price because I don't think he'd be cheap, but he's a good option. I'd much rather have him coming off the bench than Nketiah.
Yeah, yeah, I like him.
I really
Yeah,
like him.
yeah, he's pacey. He uses his frame.
He's
I
so
mean,
strong, isn't he?
I saw a lot of people earlier in the chat blaming Zinchenko for the goal. For me, Saliba isn't strong enough. It is very rare that I'll dig Saliba out on anything, and it's also very rare that I've seen Saliba get out
Well,
muscled
he
by
got done by
somebody.
Chris Wood in the first half as well.
True, true. And I'm like, but he completely just bodied Saliba like he didn't exist, which is very, very rare. You know. this is a guy that twice this year. Okay, you can say the Community Shield isn't a proper game. This is twice this year. This guy shut out Haaland, who we all know how strong he is. And but yeah, no, I like Awoni, whatever way you want to pronounce it. Is it Awoni? Well,
No,
every
Iwanini, I
commentator calls
think.
him a different name, doesn't it? It's Awoni, I thought.
I mean, Awoni sounds good. Sounds like
Yeah,
an off-brand
Awoni.
pepperami.
Yeah,
But
but no,
no,
I
it's good
like
to
him.
see.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, I think he got a bit fortunate with the goal in the sense of he did absolutely get the better of sleep, but the way it just fell off his calf into his path
Oh, yeah.
almost.
Oh, I I'd die for us to get
A
luck
chance
like that
like
in the
that,
box.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, you think of like all of our tippy tapping around the box, and then for to get an opportunity like that, I mean, it just sums it all up really. But bit of a scary, last couple of minutes. One of those ones where you look back on reflection and it probably feels a lot more nervy than it is. There was that. Actually, I did have a few half chances, to be honest. It wasn't quite that straightforward, but it was yeah, good defending from us to see it out. I definitely think that Trossard performance helped. Jorginho coming on, that helped calm things down a little bit. And yeah, we saw it out.
Raya made a really good claim
He
as well,
did.
didn't he?
He
Yeah, I
did,
was like,
yeah.
oh, good man, good man.
Yeah.
Because
And
I was
he
I was
slowed it
gutted
down.
for him when it conceded. Because for me, he doesn't get a lot of love, Raya. None, what's happened isn't his fault, and a lot of people are saying, well, he's not really done anything to endear himself to Arsenal, and I've thought to myself, well, has he really had the chance to? If Arsenal put him out there like they've put Ramsdale out there, okay, he's got people have different personalities. Maybe he is. I'm just straight lace and foot. He hasn't got that fun side like Ramsdale's got, and that might be why he's being picked and not, Ramsdale. But I don't know. There's just part of me that sometimes I just think to myself, he's been treated unfairly a bit by our fans, Raya, for no fault of his own. The manager created this situation, and yeah, I know. I back the guy. I do like him. I do like Raya.
Yeah, and I think take away he's obviously lost out on a clean sheet tonight, but it's been two good back-to-back performances for David Raya. Okay, he's not had a huge amount to do, but played a big part in one of the goals we scored against Crystal Palace. Dealt with a lot of pressure very well this evening. I think slowly but surely he's just becoming a bit more reassured, and we're not talking about him as much, which I think is a sign that
Yeah,
he's silently doing his
I
job pretty
think I
well.
think obviously next season we know
Yeah.
what's going to happen in terms of the goalkeepers, and maybe when he knows he is properly I am numero uno, then
Well, let's
yeah.
see who we bring in then. We'll probably end up signing David De Gea on a free.
Well, I was backing a Conquo, and then I watched him last night, and I thought, oh no, I've cursed you. So I said it. I think you'll need another loan, my friend. So
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what
yeah.
happens with someone like Cole Hine. I mean, he'll be the natural one to step up, but when did he last kick a football? I mean, it's
Oh well, he looked like he couldn't catch a cold when we played pre-season, mate. So I wouldn't be playing
yeah,
him either.
interesting. Maybe we'll bring back Manuel Almunia. Let's see. Premier League is shaping up interestingly tonight. As it stands, 93 minutes in, Newcastle 3-1 up against Aston Villa. I'm not going to talk about the league title because we could have this discussion at the end of every single podcast. Are we in it? Are we not in it? We're certainly in it at the minute. And it makes Sunday a very, very, very nicely poised game for us because if we win that, ooh, it will get tasty. But I mean, Villa, I don't want to say they're falling away. Newcastle are a good side, but it's starting to take shape a little bit more, the Premier League for you now.
Yeah, it normally always does, doesn't it? After January, you start to know what's happening, and yeah, no, it definitely taking shape. I mean, I couldn't believe. Obviously, we're watching it over here on TNT. Other channels are available. Other ways to watch are available. Just make sure you're doing it legally and above board. And I couldn't believe it, James, when the goal notification. I was like, Fulham are 4-0 up against. Sorry, Luton are 4-0 up against Brighton. I'm like, what is going on here? And then saw the highlights at half time. Have you seen Lukonga's assist, mate?
Oh yes, I have. Yeah.
I'm like, fair play. I mean, he's
Well,
probably
if he could keep that up,
he's probably not got a career for us. But I'm like, fair play. That's a lovely ball.
no, that's a Partey-esque ball if I've
Yeah,
ever seen it.
yeah.
If he can play consistently for Luton for the end of the season, I mean, he's like you said. I don't think he's got a future at Arsenal, but he's definitely got a future in football in the Premier League. I really hope he does because I like Sambi. I think he's a really tidy player. If he can just stay fit, play week in, week out for Luton, hopefully he has a really good career at Arsenal, at somewhere else. But hopefully we can get a bit of money for him as well because that's what's pretty important for us at the minute.
Yes, yes. If we can make any kind of money, it'll be amazing.
It would be, and I'm sure we will. He's young enough, he's good enough to make some money on. So let's wait and see. But yeah, let's not talk transfers because I think Mikel Arteta pretty much shut down any hope of us signing someone, which I think is what a lot of us were half-heartedly expecting. And I'm not really too fussed about that. If you look at all the other teams around us, no one has signed anyone. So it's been a very quiet January. I'm happy to keep the powder dry, spend it where we need to in the summer, get rid of a few players, bring some money in, and hopefully just do transfers patiently, properly, as they should be done. Because we've had lots of stopgaps in the past that have just been, very poor, i.e. Dennis Suarez. So let's not worry about going down that route.
You say this, mate. You watch tomorrow Chelsea somehow get 40 odd mil for that Broja. They'll sell Gallagher for 25 or 30 mil to Spurs, and then they'll pull someone out before deadline where everyone will go, "Oh, for God's sake, bloody Chelsea."
Yeah, probably get a Aubameyang back on loan from Marseille.
They'll find something, mate. They'll wriggle something. He can't not spend money, that geezer. He's a mentalist. He'll do something, mate.
Well, let's see. I keep forgetting it's deadline day tomorrow. I mean, that just sums up how quiet this January transfer window has been. But
well, for Arsenal fans, it's Wednesday, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Enjoy your 9 to 5 because that's about as exciting as it's going to get. Liverpool next, mate. Before I let you go, big one on Sunday. I mean, how are you feeling about it? I've got to say, now we've won this game. There's so much riding on it now, isn't it? It feels like it's probably our biggest game of the season so far.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and I don't want to upset people again with how much I hate these lot, but yeah, I can't abide them. So, especially now as well, the loving is too much for me, and yeah, in May I really do not want to be partaking in a Jurgen Klopp / Scouse marathon of love, mate. I'm not in the mood for it. So other teams need to get their house in order. So ideally, I would love Arsenal to do it, mate, and stop it. But if need be, then I'd rather have Blue Moon and everything on instead.
Oh God, yeah. I think a horrible part of me thinks that City, I'm not going to say come good because they've not exactly been horrendous this season, but we all know there's that inevitable run they're going to go on, which will happen at some point sooner rather than later. I still think they would be my team to win the league. I hate to say it, but I just think with De Bruyne, with Haaland back, if they get a clear run at it, I think that game of the Etihad, if we're still in with a chance of winning the league when we go there, that will be our biggest game in God knows how long probably since we went there last season. But if we get turned over, I'm thinking too far ahead. Let's not go there. Liverpool on Sunday, got to win that game. I don't think a draw is good enough. If we have aspirations to win this league, whilst Liverpool haven't got Trent, whilst they've not got Salah, although they'll probably both make a miraculous recovery going into that game. If we're able to get Partey back, I would have loved Partey to have started that game, but given that he wasn't in the team at all tonight, I think it's going to be a long shot to see him start against Liverpool. But if he does, and we see a midfield free of Partey, Rice, Ødegaard, I think we're in business.
Do you think if he's fit, he goes straight back in?
No, I think
yeah,
he had to be involved tonight to start against Liverpool.
Yeah. No, I think he's still a ways from coming back anyway.
Yeah, no, I think he'll be in the squad for Liverpool. I just don't think he'll start.
Fair enough.
Yeah, well, I hope he's back in the squad. I mean, it would be unusual, I think, for the club to announce that he's back.
Yeah,
and I get why they've not brought him back for this game. You don't want to rush him, given that this is probably his biggest injury in his Arsenal career. I mean, God knows he's had a lot of them, but this seems to be the most significant. He's been out for 4 months now, so they don't want to rush him. They want to take their time. And I think as part of that, they're not going to throw him in from the start against Liverpool. I think he'll probably get minutes in that game with the view to him then playing the games following on from that. But it makes it interesting now because we've seen Smith Rowe come in today. I think we kind of know what the team is going to look like. But from a midfield point of view, how would you be shaping up going into that game?
I I think he'll bring Havertz back in. I think it'll be exactly the same as what we saw today. I know that worries a lot of people with Zinchenko playing at left back, but I don't think that Kivior
No.
he trusts enough to do it.
It affects the way we play too much. And
Yeah,
Zinchenko was fantastic tonight. I know we're not going to have as much time on the ball, and I know
yeah,
with whoever it is that starts on the right for Liverpool, it'll be any one of Nunez, Diaz, Gakpo. I mean Jota. They
mm,
all interlink, they all interchange anyway. So
yeah,
it's going to
exactly.
be it's going to be a torrid game for him defensively. But if he can do what he did tonight from an attacking point of view, he could be really important in that game.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. So yeah, I think it'll be the same, other than he'll swap Smith Rowe out for Havertz, and I think he'll stick with Martin. There was a few that said he might go for Trossard, and I'm like, no, I think he'll stick with Martinelli.
Martinelli likes Liverpool, doesn't he? He likes playing against
Well,
them.
he normally likes playing against Trent, but if it's not Trent and it's this, is it Bradley, the new lad that he did really well when he come on from, didn't he, in the cup? Is it
He's done well
Bradley?
in every game for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I'm like, get him in foot races, and we'll see. We'll see how he is. I'm like, come on, Martinelli.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, mate, just an interesting point on Zinchenko. I mean, I think a lot of people were assuming when Tomiyasu, when Timber is back, that Zinchenko is just going to be out the team. He's not going to play. Um, I actually think based on tonight's performance, because we had so much of the ball when he was playing basically in midfield, there's a real case for him to be that left eight in some instances. And Arteta's never tried it at Arsenal, but do you think it's something that he maybe in the back of his mind was thinking about doing at the start of the season with Timber playing at left back as well?
I'd love to say yes, James, but I don't know. I really don't know. I think if you've got a fit Timber and a fit Tomiyasu, I don't know how he gets in at left back. I really don't,
Well, no,
because
that's what I'm saying. If he
yeah,
starts in
yeah.
midfield,
Well, this is it. Is that what he offers you defensively? Unlike, we all know that Trent Alexander-Arnold is a frailty at the back. He's slightly improved on what he was last season, but he is still frail at the back. But he gets you double digits a season in assists. Zinchenko, he does well, but he's not a double digit man. And I just look at it and I think if Tomiyasu's fully fit and Timber's fully fit, he's not playing at left back. And then in terms of the left eight, I think he would slot in there really well. But you got Havertz there, you got Smith Rowe there, who he said that he's committed to giving more minutes to. So I don't know. I really don't know.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
well, touch just
I'd love to see him there, James. But then I think that you can pick, really, depending on the style of your fights. Like, let's not. Tomiyasu's re-signed a new contract recently, James, which I'm very, very happy about. I love Tomiyasu, especially this season. I think he's come on leaps and bounds, and he looks like the player that he was when we first got him in. But let's not forget, this guy has very serious injury issues as well. So does Zinchenko. It's not very often that Zinchenko can play every. He can get a few injuries here and there. So again, it's good to have as many different options as you can. And
absolutely.
the old cliche is you pick you pick your style to suit your fights. And in games like today, you might go, okay, I can risk the aerial ability and the defensiveness of a Tomiyasu to go for the bit more flair and guile of a Zinchenko. So it's no problem having the options. It's just
When
whether
and
we.
how?
Yes, there you go. Took the words out my mouth. Well played.
Well, we're such a good combination, aren't we, mate? Very last question from Robert Stevens: is El Neni still the only player that's left in the squad from the Wenger era?
I believe
I think
you.
he is, isn't he?
You might know this better than me. Did Nelson ever play for Wenger?
Brilliant shout. Yes, he did.
Yeah,
He did. Yeah.
because I was going to say it's either one. It's them two, isn't it? I
Yeah.
can't think of any of the others.
Nelson, right wing back, and Nketiah.
There you go.
Nketiah, Nelson, El Neni. Yeah, they
Yeah.
all played under Wenger. And yeah, a 12-year-old Raw Waters. No, I'm joking. Yeah, okay, mate. I think that's pretty much it on the Same Old Arsenal podcast for tonight. Before I let you go, I've said that about 5 times now. I just can't get enough of you. Score prediction for Liverpool.
Sorry again. Sorry, chat. Going to go 1-1.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Yeah,
Look, I don't think that's negative. I think that's realistic.
I want nothing more than to absolutely slap these up. If we thrashed them 1-0, I'll be the most ecstatic man going. But yeah, I think a draw.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Going to be an emotional game with the Klopp news, but I think we've got to use that to our advantage. Let Liverpool get emotional, bring them onto us, catch them on the break. That's where we play our best football at the minute. And yeah, I'm going for 2-0. I actually think we could keep Liverpool at bay.
oh, come on,
So
James.
I know. I'm
Come on,
feeling it.
James.
I can't wait to be there on Sunday. It's going to be electric. Anyone going? Make sure you get behind the boys. Going to be a big atmosphere. Gotta get that win. I think it'll be massive if we win. That's when I'll properly start believing we could maybe believing we could win the league. Yeah, that's a roundabout way of saying that. But look, I'll leave it there, mate. Thank you ever so much for joining me tonight. To anyone in the chat, make sure you check out JJ on YouTube, the James Johnston Football Channel. Follow him on Twitter, LL Cool James 91. Anything else you'd like to say before we depart, mate?
Just thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Have a
You're
good
very
rest of the
welcome.
have a good rest of the week, and get ready for Sunday. That's it.
Yeah, it's always a good week when Arsenal win. Makes going into work tomorrow that little bit easier. Makes that 6 a.m. alarm in 7.5 hours for me just a tiny, well, not more bearable, but you know what I mean. It makes rolling out of bed a little bit more nice. Okay, so that's it from the Same Old Arsenal podcast. We will be back Sunday evening post Liverpool. Hopefully, I'm able to cram him some dinner before getting on the podcast and getting home. Let's see. But we've got a tight ship to run. 8:15 on Sunday, not too long after the final whistle when we get back from the Emirates. It will be myself, Amanda, and I think potentially Chris coming back from his trip in the Maldives. He's a bit of a part-timer these days. Chris, come on, got to pull your finger out, mate. But that's it. So from myself, from JJ, from our fabulous sponsor, Ruth Beck Art, make sure you check her out on Twitter. Make sure you check out her Etsy shop. From all of us, from the Same Old Arsenal, we'll see you very soon, guys. See you later. Up the Arsenal. Bye-bye.